Welcome to our monthly presentation of the OptfinITy webinar series. This month we'll be providing a presentation on SEO, or search engine optimization. A couple housekeeping items. One, this presentation is being recorded, so any questions that do come out we obviously won't hear you, but you have all been muted initially, but will be responded to, so just keep that in mind. For those of you not familiar, basically we do these presentations once every month. It's always on the fourth Friday. And we also do a lunch and learn every month, which is on the third Thursday. So for more information on those, I invite you to take a look at our website at www.optfinity.com. And you can check under events or our news items as well. To register for these items, you can click on that, look in our newsletters, or just go to Eventbrite and you can search for them there as well. Another housekeeping item before we get started is if you have any questions, there is a little chat notification item that is on the left side of your Skype for Business control panel. Just click on that, type in your question. We'll be keeping an eye on those questions. And as we have those questions, we'll be happy to answer them. As far as who we are, OptfinITy was founded in 2002. Our focus is on providing peace of mind to small businesses and nonprofits. And we do that by providing a 24/7 help desk, on-site and on-call support, as well as a variety of development services I'll talk about briefly in the next slide. Key differentiator for us is we do it all the flat rates, so you don't have to worry about hourly fees. We're based in Springfield, Virginia, which is right outside of Washington, D.C. In fact, it's the last stop on the metro. And we've been working with well over 200 clients up till now. Our services and core competencies include strategy and assessments. We do a lot of that for the nonprofit market. Managed services, which is a nice way of saying we manage all of the items related to your IT infrastructure. We provide cloud support. We have cloud infrastructure as well. We do websites, mobile apps, as well as phone systems. So today we're going to talk about search engine optimization. And what SEO stands for is, as I said, the words search engine, but the O stands for optimization. The aspects to SEO is basically what's going to happen with SEO is you're going to allow a search engine to find your website before it finds other sites that are somewhat relevant. This can be done on Google. It can be done for Yahoo. It can be done for Bing. It can be any search engine. And in fact, most of the search engines follow the same basic structure of setting up your website. There are many aspects to SEO, from the words on a web page to how other sites link to you. And you have to realize that it's not just about making a site search engine friendly. While search engines are in fact computers, what's happening is you need to make your site respond to the way somebody would ask a question. So if somebody goes to a website and says, I need an allergist doctor, you need to make sure that your website, if you're an allergist, states that you are a doctor who provides allergist-type services. So when you're writing your website and putting together your website for SEO, you need to think about how somebody is questioning that search engine in order to give you the answers you're looking for. So why is that important? Well, the biggest reason is the web today has over 1 billion web pages. And it's probably a lot more than that. In fact, billions of web pages exist, and that's just the pages themselves. So when somebody goes into searching for a particular topic or criteria, how you come up in that search engine is going to make a difference in your success. Now, many years ago, before Google existed, before algorithms were used, people would try a variety of different tricks. An example of that would be to utilize a search topic that was very popular. Obviously, the most popular search topic out there was pornography. So what you would have is companies like Joe the Plumber or someone else would go and put all sorts of pornographic terms on their website. And what they would do is they'd have a white website with black text talking about the plumbing services, drainage problems, setting up new sinks, etc. But in white writing on the white background, they would use pornographic terms. The reason they would do this is so that when people would go to search for pornography, which would say get 1 billion hits, Joe's site and his plumbing business would show up. Now, why is that important? Well, if Joe just put his own website up there and advertised plumbing services, yeah, maybe people would find his site if they were specific to what he was looking for. But by using pornographic terms, people searching for pornography would also see that site. So if 1 billion people saw that site, and of that billion, only 0.5% had said to themselves, my toilet's clogged, or I need to clean out the sink, or the gutter, or whatever the case may be, that person would then go to the site. Even though they were searching for pornography, they had no idea why it was popping up, but that's a lot of business that you get. So when these two engineers that started Google over at Stanford University, they said, what can we do to create a way so when people search for websites, they'll be able to find accurate items regardless of how people try to trick the system. So that being in mind, you have to think about what is it that you can do to make your website show up, but not only show up, but show up in the first or second page of the search engine. Now you have to realize we're also talking about organic search. What organic search is those items that show up in the middle of the page, not the stuff at the top or down the right-hand side. Those are paid search engine options. And while those are paid and that will get attention, that gets very expensive. Organic search is what shows up in the middle of the page. And obviously, the closer you show up to the first page, the more revenue, publicity, and exposure you're going to get. So investing in SEO, to a point, can be very beneficial. So I've pretty much talked about why you need SEO. But basically, if the difference in what you do is based upon publicity, that's going to make a difference in how your business operates. If anyone's familiar with real estate, anyone will tell you the key fact of real estate is location, location, location. Well, when we're dealing with internet, we're also dealing with real estate. It's real estate on the internet. So why would somebody open up a store in a mall? Because they get foot traffic. Maybe not everybody's coming to that fudge store that they set up in the mall, but when they go from the clothing store to the shoe store and they walk by and it's 11:30 in the morning and they smell that fudge, they're going to go in there because they had traffic. They saw that store. When you're on the web, the same thing applies. In order to get people's attention, you have to make sure that they see your store. The benefit of the web versus, say, somebody in the mall is in the mall you have 1,000 people pass the store and maybe you're going to get 5 people who truly came there specifically looking for fudge. The others are going to be people who walked by and said, oh, okay, impulse buy. When you're dealing with SEO, the true benefit is that when people are on the web, they are looking for what you have to offer. So we're not only talking about people that are passing by, we're talking about people that said, you know what, I need those medical services. I need those plumbing services. I need somebody locally. All that information has to be on the web. So you need to optimize your site so that it'll work with it. Today we're going to talk about the basics of SEO. We'll get into more advanced SEO down the road. But we're going to talk about what it is you have to worry about, what it is you have to focus on, and then maybe down the road in another presentation we'll talk about some more advanced components. So that being said, what are those basic things you need? The things we're going to talk about today are keywords, title tags, backlinks, URL structures, and the most important item, which we'll get to last, is content. So what is a keyword? Keyword is anything that is focused on what they're looking for. So if I am looking for a place to play basketball, the words basketball and place and play are the keywords, especially if I wrote it as play basketball. The word the, of, those don't matter. So a keyword is a word that defines the content of what appears on a page. And realize I'm talking a page, not a website. Every single page has to have its own content, its own keywords, its own title that is distinguishable from the rest of the site. That is what gives your page that much more attention. It doesn't really matter. If you only have one page on there that talks about what it is you're selling, you have the About Us page or Contact Us, and none of those other pages show up in the search engine, it doesn't matter. You've got the page of interest that's going to sell. So when someone searches in a search engine, they're going to look for your site in a way that matches their criteria. The search engine is going to look and see, does the metadata on your website, the title, the headings, the content, the alternate tags, do all of those items have keywords? If they do, your site has more relevancy. So metadata is code that only a webmaster, web designer, someone who understands HTML is going to understand. Metadata is not as important as it used to be, but it is still required. Metadata is basically things in the background that tell the site, the search engine, what is on this page. The title of the page is very important. Not only does the title of the page show up at the top of the screen, but it tells everyone this page is about playing basketball. The headings of the page are those other items below it. So playing basketball might talk about court locations, time of the games, leagues, etc. On there, you have what's called an HR or header tag. You must make sure that the HR tags assigned to each topic are utilized appropriately. So the one that's most important, maybe it's the gym locations, that would be an H1, H2, H3, and so forth. Again, the title, the metadata, and the headings all must talk about playing basketball, if that's what we're going for. Last item before we get to alternate tags is the content. Okay, you can have a page, have all these other things in there. You have a title about gym locations, then under the gym locations header, you talk about something completely unrelated. If you do that, the page lost relevancy, it's not going to show up. So your content is king. Even if you don't have the other items, if you have content in there, that is what's important. Finally, alternate tags. If you're a computer, you don't have eyes. You can only look at what shows up on the screen. An image, however, obviously when that shows up on the screen, human beings see that, but computers cannot. So what you do is you create an alternate tag. So if you can imagine, we're talking about playing basketball, there has to be a picture on the page of playing basketball. Now, you could easily have a picture of the Washington Monument, but if you said in the background, the alternate tag for that picture was playing basketball in a local gym, or in an Arlington gym, since we're near there, or Alexandria, whatever the case may be, that would show up well for search engines, but really wouldn't show up well for the person who's looking for it and be like, why is this Washington Monument page here? So you have to make sure you're satisfying both the search engine as well as the user. Title tags. So the title tag, as you can see, is what's there. Now, not to confuse the title tag with the title of a page. A title tag is a coded component. That's what shows up on the tab of your browser window. That's what says to the computer, this is what's about that page. Now, the title of your page, that's separate. That shows up on the page itself. The title tag is what shows up at the top. Now, you can utilize them both, depending on how you formatted and what CSS you've used. But that's important to have. And that title, again, for example, ours right here, the title may say IT support, website development, etc. The title, though, should focus on that page. So right now, obviously, you see in the picture in front of us, the title itself shows us that OptfinITy.com is about IT support, website development, etc. However, on the page for website development, you need to make sure that it's about websites. Now, I believe we may have gotten a question. Let me quickly take a look. Nope, looks like just something was notifying me of something. But anyways, so we talked about title tags, and you want to make sure, again, I talked about the title tag being specific to that page. You want to make sure that the title tag for one page is different than the title tag for another. Because if you don't see the differences in pages, it's of no value to you. One thing you may want to consider is also including branding your title tag. And that may be people who are familiar with the brand, so utilizing your company name may or may not help you, depending upon what it is you're selling. For example, OptfinITy. If people are looking for OptfinITy, that'll help me. But in my case, I'm not worried about people who already know about us. They're already coming to our site. I'm more interested in people that want IT support, website development, etc. So, some title tag tips. 1, place important keywords at the start of your title tag. The closer they are to the beginning of your tag, the better they'll be for ranking your site. And people are going to see that. Because when you look at a search engine and it shows you the title on that search engine results, if your keywords that they're searching for are at the beginning of that, that'll show up as opposed to be hidden by the ... at the end of it. Also consider the emotional impact of your tag. They need to be descriptive and readable, because when a visitor sees them, they have to understand what that page is about. So you want to create a compelling tag that not only grabs attention, but utilizes keywords so that search engines know how to deal with them. Next we're going to talk about is backlinks. Now, backlinks is a term that's utilized by the search engines, but one thing I like to compare them to is, if you think back to when you were in high school, what made the popular people popular in school? Well, typically, if they were an athlete, academic, whatever the case may be, what made them popular was that people looked at them as the authority for something. Quarterback of the football team, they were the authority of the football. That's who controlled everything. They were in charge. Head cheerleader, same thing. The web is almost identical to that popularity game. What makes one website more popular or higher ranking than another website? That comes down to relevance. It's not about whether you think you're relevant, it's whether other people think you're relevant. So, how do they do this? Well, they do this through a system called PageRank, and I'm talking specifically Google, but they're all very similar. What PageRank basically says is 2 things. 1, what is the relevancy of your data, and what is the relevancy of your organization? So, if you're out there and you own a small business, and you go to 5 other small businesses in the local chamber of commerce and you ask them to link to you, when they link to you, they need to say, okay, so if they're linking to OptfinITy, they might say a great web development company is OptfinITy, and web development company and OptfinITy would be a link to the OptfinITy website. That not only says, okay, we've got 5 small businesses, and they're all saying this, they're all linking with relevant terms, that gives OptfinITy a leg up. The problem is that those 5 businesses, excuse me, probably has a page rank of a 4. Okay, and that's a scale of a 1 to 10. A 4 says, okay, real companies, not very strong in terms of relevancy for whatever the reason may be. So you have those 5 companies, they link to you. I then say to you, would you rather have 5 companies link to you or 1 link to you? And the answer to that question is, it depends. If you could get the Washington Post, who probably has a page rank of a 9 or a 10, to write an article and link to your website, your page rank, your relevancy is now more popular. It is now higher. You could have 100 small businesses that all have page ranks of 1 or 2. If you don't have a page rank from a high-level organization, your rank is not going to go up tremendously. So, what is a backlink? It's a link from another website that links back to your website using relevant terms. If somebody writes to our website, hey, this is a great basketball team, and links to OptfinITy, it's of 0 value. Google says basketball team OptfinITy doesn't make sense unless we're sponsoring a team in the local basketball league. Google is using these links pointing to your site as a way of establishing reputation. If Washington Post says that they think you have a good reputation because they're willing to link to you, and the Washington Post already has that good reputation, your reputation goes up. So when you tie this together, the more sites with the higher reputation that consider you an authority, the higher your page ranking is going to be. So when you put up your information about website development, there are tons of people doing website development. However, if I get the Washington Post to write an article that OptfinITy does the best website development, that link is going to push us to the front of the search engines. And then the content, the title tags, the meta tags are all going to show that we have relevant topic on that page. The combination of those 2 items is what puts us in those first few pages. couple other tips to consider: URL structures. A URL is your locator. So when you go on the web and you see a item at the top that says www.optfinity.com, that is your URL. And so if you have a URL, you want to make the URL so that it is easy to read and identifies the content of the page. By having a site that says optfinity.com/about-us, who is us? Okay, it should be about Optfinity. You have a topic that says optfinity.com/services. Well, what are your services? It should be IT services and website development or whatever, or mobile app development. The key is to utilize your URL to identify what it is you do. Try to keep URLs short. That's more for making it clickable, people remembering to go to it, making sure that it's easy to understand. You also want to make your URL static. What that means is they shouldn't change based on the page. If you look at the bottom of the page here, we have www.site.com/14 percentage 20, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That may be a good way to secure your site, but you want it then to be pointed to that my-home page. Any site you utilize that is database driven, whether it's WordPress, Drupal, .NET Nuke, any of the CMSs out there, they're all database driven. They're all pulling back some database locator like the first piece. What you want to do is utilize the technology to then use real English terms. By doing that, search engines know what the page is about. People are able to understand it. It's a lot easier to find. Last topic we're going to talk about here is about content. Okay? You can have the worst keywords, you can have everything else. If you have great content, if people keep coming to your website because the content is accurate, is informational, inspirational, whether it's a blog, whether it's news items, if people keep coming to that site, the search engines recognize that. They recognize that you're an authority on that topic, and that alone is going to help your business. I can tell you a story of somebody I know real locally who has been writing a blog about marketing. And what ended up happening, without getting too specific about this person, is somebody across the country kept reading his blog, loved it, hired him for a multi-$100,000 project to do marketing based on the blog alone. Didn't even talk to anybody else. Said he loves what he was thinking about, said, give me a proposal, got it. Something to consider. So, that being said, if you have great content today, that doesn't mean you have great content tomorrow. Content has to change. It has to be updated. It doesn't have to be daily, but it should be frequently enough that when people come back to your site, they get new material. So, great content rules, that is by number one. If you don't focus on anything else and you focus on great content, you update the content on a regular, if not daily basis, etc., that is going to help your search engine. Put it all together, and you're going to get great results. Going backwards, try the other way. When talking about content, don't put it all on one page. If the content you're talking about is relating to multiple topics, each topic or subtopic should be on a separate page. That gives that page more relevancy. Your keywords, your meta tags, your title tags, your header tags, all of that relates to that specific subset of content. That specific subset is what's going to show up on the search engine. If you have too many keywords, you're not going to become an authority on that keyword. You may be an authority, but they're looking for content that matches specifically. You can't have 15 keywords in your meta tags, your title tags, etc. If you do, run-on sentence is an understatement, but you got to focus on what you're focusing on. Search engines are going to look for content that matches. So your keyword, your title tag, and everything else, if they all equal the same thing and your content is good, that's how you rank higher. And I keep hitting the wrong button. Let's try to go in the right direction here. Things you need to be careful with. Just as I was telling that story earlier about the plumber who used pornographic terms, when the search engines caught on, they obviously punished those websites. An example of that is JCPenney. JCPenney hired a company, this is a couple of years ago, to go out there and utilize the backlinking and everything else to increase their site and strategy, etc. So this company went out there and created what's called a server farm, basically a fake thousands of fake websites, dynamically driven, that when anybody searched for this topic, they linked to the JCPenney page for that specific product. It did wonders. JCPenney's online sales were in the millions of dollars daily. Google caught on. JCPenney didn't even, again, I can't speak for them, but supposedly we're not aware that this was being done. Google found out. Not only did they change the algorithm to stop it, they eliminated JCPenney from Google. JCPenney's revenue dropped by over $1 million a day based on this. So, granted, once everything was figured out, they're back on the web, etc. I believe the company that obviously got fired. But the point is that you've got to be careful not to violate what they search for. So keyword stuffing. You don't want to put, in this example here, Bob's cheap Seattle plumber is the best cheap Seattle plumber. Okay, they already know that it's a cheap Seattle plumber. I also wouldn't use the word cheap. But you've got to be careful that you write, okay, how are they the cost-effective plumber? What are they doing that's beneficial, etc. You also don't want to keep your keywords relevant. Okay, you don't necessarily have to throw in irrelevant keywords to make it fit within the site itself. So keyword abuse. Stick to the keywords that are focused. Don't make it like you're just writing keywords. Actually develop content. That will help. Things to avoid. Manipulative linking, as I was talking about JCPenney earlier. You want to avoid link exchange programs. You don't want schemes where fake or low-value websites are made to give you a fake hit. By doing that, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And once you get blocked on Google, if you have the resources, JCPenney and the lawyers, etc., you can get yourself pretty much taken care of. If you don't, well, you may not show back up on Google for a long time. And then when you're dealing with your title tag, they only typically show the first 65 to 75 characters of a title tag. That's just because that's the amount of space available on the Google search site. And again, I'm talking Google a lot, but again, it focuses on all of them. So figure out what you want to say in the very beginning. If you don't, you're going to have that problem. So what good is doing all this if you don't have a way to see how well it's working? So there are a couple things to look at. Google Analytics, if you're not using it on your website, well, you should be. It's a free tool. It allows you to see who, what, where, when, how, what they came to your site, what they clicked on, what they didn't click on, how quickly they left your site. All of that information is in Google Analytics. It also ties into your search engine, so you can see where they're coming from. If everybody who's coming to your website is typing in your address, that's not good. That means people aren't searching for you, they're not finding you, they're coming directly because they know your name. Google Trends allows you to see how things are trending. You can utilize that to tie it into your keywords. And then again, go onto search engines. Put in keywords. Use the keyword tools that come with it. And see how your site comes up. See what other sites come up and learn from what they've done. Take a look at their keywords, their content. Try to replicate that same thing. You can also search and see who is linking to your site. By putting in the word link and then a colon and then the name of your site, it'll tell you every single website that the search engine sees linking to your website. So again, you can do all this work, but if you're not tracking and improving it, you're wasting your time. At that point, I'll leave it open to any questions that are out there. If you have any questions, please go ahead and go to the conversation tab. You can fill in the conversation tab and fill that in. If there are no questions, or if you don't have any questions now, but you want to talk about search engines, you want to talk about websites, how this all works, my contact information is up there. My phone number, my extension. You can email us at sales, and somebody will be happy to get back to you. Even if you're not looking to buy anything, just feel free to send us an email. We're more than happy to answer any questions you have, and then go from there.